What if I told you that thinking about money too much is literally the reason you don't have any? I know how that sounds. Every finance bureau on the internet is screaming at you to obsess over every dollar, grind harder, want it more, check your accounts, track your spending, hustle 24/7. But here's the thing nobody's actually saying out loud. The people who obsess over money the most are consistently building the least of it. I've got the research, I've got real examples, and by the time this video's done, I promise you're gonna look at your whole relationship with money in a completely different way. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so I wanna walk you through two people, two completely real situations I've seen play out, probably more times than I can count at this point. Person A checks their bank account every single morning before they even get out of bed. We're talking three separate budgeting apps on their phone. They talk about money constantly, at lunch, in the group chat, on the weekends. Every Sunday, they're running spreadsheet projections, comparing investment accounts, watching finance content for hours. Money is basically their whole personality at this point. Person A pulls in around $75,000 a year. Person A has got about $4,200 saved up. Now, Person B, totally different story. Person B honestly couldn't tell you their exact account balance off the top of their head right now. They set up their 401k a few years back and haven't stressed over it since. They've got a simple budget, nothing crazy, nothing obsessive, just simple guardrails. Their free time goes toward hobbies, their relationships, getting better at their job. Person B also makes around $75,000 a year. Person B has $94,000 saved and invested. Same income, wildly different results. And y'all, the difference isn't hustle, it isn't smarts, it isn't some lucky break. It's the obsession. So here's what's actually going down inside your brain when money becomes an obsession. Princeton did a study, and what they found honestly blew my mind when I first read it. When people are constantly preoccupied with financial stress and money thoughts, it actually shrinks their cognitive bandwidth. And I don't mean that as some metaphor. I mean your brain's capacity to think clearly, to make sharp, smart decisions, literally goes down. Consistently, every single day you're in that obsession loop. Sit with that for a second. The more mental energy you pour into obsessing over money, the worse your brain gets at the exact skill you need to build money, which is clear, creative, long-term thinking. But it goes even deeper than that. There's something researchers call the scarcity mindset trap. When your brain is stuck in scarcity mode, constantly fixated on what you don't have, what's missing, what could go wrong, it physically narrows your focus. Psychologists actually call it tunneling. And when you're tunneling, you become short-sighted almost automatically. You chase quick wins instead of smart ones. You make reactive decisions instead of strategic ones. You panic sell your investments the second a market dips. You take desperate shortcuts that end up costing you way more in the long run. Here's the part that gets me every time I explain this. The very obsession that was supposed to make you wealthy is literally rewiring your brain to make broke decisions. And meanwhile, the people with what I'd call a healthy distance from money, they're thinking bigger, they're taking smart risks, they're patient, they let compounding do what compounding does. The three traps. All right, let's get into the specifics, because money obsession doesn't always look like desperation. Sometimes it looks completely reasonable, responsible even. That's what makes it so sneaky. Here are the three traps I see people fall into all the time. Trap 1. The optimization trap. This is the person A problem right here. Spending 4 hours comparing high-yield savings accounts that are maybe 0.15% different from each other. Agonizing for 6 weeks over which ETF to buy, and then buying neither one because you couldn't decide. Obsessing over every tiny financial decision while completely losing sight of the bigger picture. And here's why the math on this is actually brutal. You could spend 40 hours optimizing your finances to save maybe $200 over the course of a year. Those same 40 hours put toward developing a marketable skill could realistically earn you $10,000 more annually. You are trading big money for the feeling of being responsible with small money. The obsession with optimizing pennies is costing you dollars. Trap 2. The emotional spending rebound. Now this one catches people totally off guard. When you're hyper-restrictive and obsessive about every single purchase, you're building up psychological pressure. and pressure always finds a release valve eventually. So what ends up happening? The person who was tracking literally every single coffee for 3 straight months suddenly blows $900 on a random weekend because they just feel completely suffocated. Behavioral psychologists actually have a name for this. It's called the what the hell effect, and it hits almost universally with people who are white-knuckling their money through obsession rather than managing it through systems. You can't willpower your way to wealth. It doesn't work like that. Trap 3. The comparison spiral. When money becomes your entire focus, you start measuring your life against everybody else's financial highlight reel. That person from high school bought a house. Your coworker just got a promotion. Your college friends are posting vacation pictures from Europe. And suddenly you're making completely irrational decisions, buying stuff you genuinely cannot afford, burning yourself out chasing income at the cost of your health, or throwing money at risky investments because you feel like you're falling behind. Comparison is just paying interest on someone else's life, and people stuck in money obsession are paying that interest every single day. So here's the real question. If obsession doesn't work, what actually does? And I want to be crystal clear about something before I go further. I'm not telling you to be sloppy with your money. I'm not saying ignorance is some kind of financial strategy. The people who actually build real wealth aren't careless. They're just not controlled by money. Here's the core difference. They treat money like a tool, not a scoreboard, not a measure of their worth, a tool. And here's what that actually looks like day to day. Automate the fundamentals and then leave them alone. Set up automatic contributions to your retirement account. Set up an automatic savings transfer every time you get paid. Automate your bills. When the important stuff happens automatically without you making emotional decisions about it every month, you've removed one of the biggest wealth killers there is, yourself. That system is worth more than any budgeting app you'll ever download. Redirect your obsession toward income, not expenses. The wealthiest people in this country didn't build what they built by cutting back on lattes. They built it by creating value, building things, selling things, developing skills that the market pays well for. If you've already cut the obvious waste out of your life, then you should be spending 80% of your mental energy figuring out how to grow your income, not squeezing another fraction of a percent out the one you've got. Get comfortable with uncertainty. Here's what financially successful people understand that money-obsessed people really struggle with. The market is going to drop sometimes. You are going to make financial mistakes. Some of your investments aren't going to pan out. That's just reality. Accepting that, genuinely accepting it, and staying the course anyway is what separates people who actually build wealth from people who are constantly starting over. Obsession is often just anxiety wearing a productivity costume. Define what money is actually for in your life. I know that sounds almost too simple, but stick with me. People who have a crystal clear picture of the life they're building, the freedom they want, the experiences they want, the security they want, they make better financial decisions almost automatically. Every choice gets filtered through that picture. But people who just want more money with no real destination in mind, they never feel like they have enough. No amount ever feels secure. The goalpost keeps moving forever. Money without a purpose is just anxiety that has a balance attached to it. Look, I'm going to be straight with you here because I think you deserve a real conversation and not just a list of tips. I went through a stretch where I was deep in the obsession, checking accounts constantly, running financial scenarios in my head at 2 in the morning, calculating, stressing, optimizing, and you want to know what I had to show for all of that mental energy being poured into money every single day? Anxiety, a lot of it. And honestly, a pretty mediocre financial situation to go along with it. The thing that changed for me wasn't some new strategy or some investing hack I stumbled across. It was a shift in the question I was asking. I stopped asking, how do I get more money? And I started asking, what am I actually building and what do I need to make that happen? It sounds almost too straightforward, maybe even a little soft for a finance video, but it completely changed how I made decisions. I stopped reacting to every little thing and started planning. I stopped checking the market every day and started focusing on getting better at what I do. I automated everything boring so I could put my actual brain power toward what actually moves the needle. And that's what I want for you watching this right now. Not just a bigger number in your account, although that is coming, but the actual peace of mind that real financial progress is supposed to give you. Because here's the deepest irony of money obsession. It robs you of the very peace that having money was supposed to create in the first place. Okay, here's what I actually need you to do. Not next month, This week, write down the 3 things about money that you obsess over the most. Just write them down. No judgment. Just getting them out of your head and onto paper is more powerful than you'd think. Pick one of those things and automate it so you literally never have to think about it again. One savings transfer, one retirement contribution, one automatic payment. Just one. Take one thing off your mental plate permanently. Block out 30 minutes this week, just 30 minutes, and think about your income, not your expenses, not your budget, your income. What skill are you overlooking? What opportunity keeps coming up that you keep putting off? What would your earning potential actually look like in 3 years if you focused on growth instead of restriction? 3 steps. Nothing overwhelming, but I'm telling you, do this consistently over time, and the compounding effect on your life is genuinely going to surprise you. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. The goal was never to be the person who has the most money. The goal was always to have enough to stop worrying, enough to live the way you actually want to live, enough to build something that actually matters to you. And obsession takes you further from that, not closer. The people genuinely winning with money right now are not the ones thinking about it every second of every day. They're the ones who built smart systems, focused on growing what they bring to the table, and then went out and actually lived their lives. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment right now and tell me, which one of those 3 traps hits closest to home for you? The optimization trap, where you're overanalyzing every tiny decision, the rebound spending, where restriction leads to blow-ups, or the comparison spiral, where other people's financial lives are messing with your head. Be honest, I read every single comment, and honestly, the conversations in the comments section on this channel are some of the best ones I have all week. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I'll catch you in the next one.